If you're gaining more weight than you expected during your reverse diet, trust me, you're not alone, but the good news is I've helped hundreds of people who struggle with this exact same thing. So in this video, I'm gonna explain 5 different things you can do to get things back on track. So the first thing that might be happening is you might be increasing your calories too fast. What I see a lot of people do is they make static increases and just keep bumping them up no matter what's happening. But the problem is if you're already gaining weight and you continue to increase calories on top of that, you're just putting yourself into a bigger and bigger surplus and you're just gonna keep gaining additional weight. So you might hear me say things like increase your calories by around maybe 50 to 100 per week. That's just kind of a rough guideline, but it doesn't mean you always have to do that. So if you find that you're gaining a little too fast, just put a pause on your increases, give your body some time to adapt to that, and then you can start increasing calories again once things have settled down. But just understand, there's always trade-off. There's not a right or wrong or a good or bad. There's just pros and cons to different approaches. The faster you increase your calories, the faster you're gonna increase your metabolism and be able to enjoy more food and flexibility in your diet. You're gonna start feeling better. Those things will happen faster, but you will also be more likely to gain more weight. The slower you increase, the less likely you are to gain, but it takes longer to go through the process. The second problem could be you're forcing yourself to a certain amount of calories going based off some sort of calorie equation, whether it's a TDEE calculator or some sort of online calculators. The problem with those is they're not specific to you. They don't know about your genetics, your diet history, and even if you take 2 people with the exact same stats, their maintenance calories could literally be 1,000 different. So you can't just take that and assume it's gonna be the right calories for you. So say for instance, this calculator says that you should get your calories to 2,500, but you're gaining weight like crazy on 2,000. If you keep trying to force that higher number because it says to, you're just gonna keep gaining and gaining. But with that, you do have to get them high enough if you plan on cutting again in the future. So you wanna make sure you have enough to make the initial adjustment, and then as well as maybe 1 or 2 adjustments as you hit plateaus as well. So I typically recommend when you start a cut to drop your calories by around 20 to 25%. When you hit plateaus, drop them by around another 10%. So for instance, if you are maintaining your weight on 2,000 calories and then you made a 20% decrease to start, you'd now be eating 1,600 calories. After another 10% drop, you'd now be down to 1,440. And if you did another 10% drop after that, you're down to 1,300 calories now. So you don't want to go too high, but you also have to make sure they're high enough that you can come back and cut down the road without immediately going to super low calories. The third reason, this is by far and away the most common reason people tend to gain much more weight than is necessary, and that is you're just not being adherent to the plan. And hey, I get it. One of the biggest struggles for a lot of people during a reverse diet is, well, I'm gonna gain weight anyways, so why pay such close attention to things? And you just kind of turn a blind eye. You eat a lot more than you're accounting for. You're not measuring any of your foods on a food scale. You're blowing it out on the weekends and pretending it doesn't happen. And you're just really overdoing it. And this is causing you to gain weight rapidly. And I'm telling you, almost every reverse diet that I've seen go poorly has gone poorly not because the plan wasn't working well, it was because they weren't really following the plan and were constantly overeating. So don't get me wrong, a reverse diet is a time to be more flexible and to back off a little bit and not just be so super hyper focused with things, because if you're trying to measure every single thing you eat down to the gram on a food scale and being perfect with your diet and being super meticulous, by the time you start your cut, you're gonna be so burnt out on it that you're gonna have a hard time. So it is a balancing act, but it can't be this, well, I'm not gonna lose anyway, so what's the point, and then just go nuts, because that's gonna cause you to gain weight rapidly. So you don't want to get caught up in this all or nothing mentality. You don't want to only be putting in hard work when it's time to cut. This is one of the biggest struggles I see most people have. It's whenever you're in a cut, it's like super hyper focused, diligent, training hard, getting all your exercise in, measuring every little thing, and then as soon as you're not cutting, now the focus goes completely by the wayside. You stop training hard, you stop training at all, stop paying attention to your food, and it's just like a nightmare waiting to happen. And honestly, this brings me right to the 4th tip, and that is making sure you are continuing with your exercise program. Don't get me wrong, you can absolutely back off some, especially with your cardio. It's actually usually a good idea to taper your cardio down some, maybe get your steps down some as well, so that when you do cut again in the future, you have room to adjust, but you still want to stay on top of your strength training. In fact, if you really want to change your body for the better, it happens not from what you do when you diet. It happens from what you do when you're not dieting. Time off with purpose, continuing to train hard, getting your protein in, building that muscle, and setting the foundation so that when you do cut, not only are you in a good spot metabolically, but you've got that muscle to display. So many people complain about never having any definition when they cut, but they've never gone through a single building phase in their entire life. So if you really want to get results, I'm turning 46 here this week, and this is how I'm currently currently looking right now, probably my favorite look I've ever had, but it's happened because of years, and I mean years, of training with purpose, not doing a lot of dieting, and giving the body time to build and thrive. So you have to keep up with this process no matter what your current phase is and your short and long-term goals are. Now, all that being said, the fifth thing, the one thing you really need to consider is, are you actually gaining weight? Keep in mind, weight and fat are not the same thing. So you might be gaining actual scale weight, but if you are taking my advice and training hard and with purpose and getting your protein in, especially if you've never really done this before, you might be building substantial muscle. Muscle has weight. You cannot add mass to your frame, which muscle is mass, without expecting that scale number to go up. So you don't want to get too caught up in that scale number. It's only one tool in the tool belt. And you also have to make sure you're looking at things like weekly averages, weighing yourself daily, taking an average for the week versus one snapshot in time. Because your weight fluctuates daily for so many reasons, up to several pounds. Very little of that has anything to do with body fat. It's all water weight, hormones, stress, sleep, sodium intake, training inflammation, how much food is digesting, how many fluids did you drink. And if you're just getting one snapshot in time and then comparing that to another snapshot in time, you might be abnormally low one week, abnormally high the next week. It could show you gained 3 pounds when you actually didn't gain anything. But even with all that, understand, reverse dieting isn't about not gaining any weight. I know we see this online all the time. People love to share their client photos who go through a reverse diet and they increase calories like crazy and they don't gain any weight, or they even lose weight. But understand, that is the exception, not the rule. That's a rare scenario, and coaches love to put their stars out there and say, hey, look at how good I am. I made this client do this. And hey, I'm not saying I've never put something like that out before, but I always explain that this is not to be expected and is not the norm. The norm is to gain some weight, but it's worth the trade-off to get your metabolism back into a better spot so you can come back down the road and effectively lose again. So understand, it's a temporary thing for the greater good. Focus on the benefits of this phase because everything else gets better here. Your strength, your hunger, your mood, your recovery, building muscle, building metabolism, everything gets better. The only benefit of fat loss, the only benefit is fat loss. That's it. Everything else, all these other things that I'm mentioning, they all get worse in the fat loss phase. So enjoy it. Don't get caught up in the grass is greener mentality where almost no matter what you're doing, you're miserable. So many people, they're in a reverse and all they do is think, I just want to lose weight. I just want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. And they don't even enjoy the reverse diet. And then as soon as they cut, week 1 into the cut, oh, I want more food. I'm so hungry. I have no energy. It's like, focus on the benefits. Because you have to do this stuff forever. No matter what, you will always be doing something, otherwise you're gonna lose your results. So it's a lifestyle, that's why we call it that. So focus on the benefits. Now with that, there's 5 things that I see that are really common that are actually the worst thing you can possibly do when you are in your reverse diet. So if you wanna know what those are, check out this video next. If you wanna know more about how to reverse diet, check out this video. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you in one of those other videos.